Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another First Impressions video. In today's First Impressions video, we are taking a look at my brand new Auto-Ordnance Thompson M1 factory SBR. There are no sponsors on the channel right now. If you want to help me out, very simple. All you got to do, hit that subscribe button, head down below to that comment section. Let me know what you think of this video. It's very motivating to see you guys down there. It encourages me to continue to put out these videos. Also have a B channel, FF Lifestyle, little shameless plug for myself. It might not be for everybody, but if you are not looking for gun content, but action and adventure content, that channel is for you. What a whirlwind of emotions this was to get this rifle on the channel. If you don't know, and you haven't been, let's say, working in the industry for quite some time, or just involved in the firearms community, Auto-Ordnance has not gotten a great reputation. And usually are well known for not working. Not only not working, but just being total and complete piles of hot garbage. And that was my experience at every turn with these rifles in the past. I had seen almost always every time a 16-inch variation. All those times I was working at indoor ranges, and almost always everyone that I saw go into the indoor range had issues. It was always a problem child. It rarely ever worked, and they were unbelievably expensive. However, with that being said, you still could not argue the look of the 10.5-inch factory SBR that Auto-Ordnance put out, where I'm like, man, I know it's not a good choice to get one of those, but I just watched Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan again, and damn it, I don't know that I can turn it down any longer. I need one in my life. Auto-Ordnance does a very select run of these factory SBRs, from my understanding, once a year. And I was routinely checking distribution and waiting for them to pop back in stock. And I also had one or two different retailers online that I was also checking. I kind of had a bookmark bar up, and there are two guns in the World War II lineup that I did not have left. A BAR, which is probably going to be far in the future, and also a Thompson. And of course, I do not have the type of money to be purchasing an original M1 transferable Thompson. All of a sudden, 10 of them popped into stock on distribution and also popped into stock across the miscellaneous places online. I was luckily able to get one left on distribution. That's how fast they sold out overnight, for around a little over $1,800. And I was like, did I just buy an $1,800 turd? And am I going to put it on the channel as that? It freaking worked at the range, dude. It worked. How did I was shocked. I was unbelievably shocked. If you guys are unfamiliar, one of the first complaints about these are how unbelievably difficult the springs are to maneuver in the action here. And it is very much that way. They advise you to essentially only load the first round into the gun in the manual from a locked open chamber. And that's the only way you are supposed to insert the magazines. That is how difficult they are to maneuver. There is a company out there, Howell Arms, that is manufacturing an easy pull spring kit for these rifles, and that cuts it down significantly. If you're not familiar with the original open bolt transferable Thompsons, when you rack the action on those, I've fired a few of them, it is just like butter. I mean, it's like one finger and it goes all the way to the rear. And that is obviously not an issue at all. In my opinion, what's probably a main culprit of a lot of the issues that are out there. So a lot of people recommend those spring kits. Of course, that spring kit for me is getting here tomorrow. Now, I ordered that fully assuming I was going to go into this range day and the gun was just not going to work. I had with me 300 rounds of this Remington 230 grain full metal jacket, and I started off the day with the factory 30 round stick magazine, and it functioned. I also purchased this awesome mag carrier from What a Country. And all of this, the gun, the magazines, the ammunition, the spring kit, all of which I purchased at full retail, minus the gun, which of course I got on distribution, so a little bit of cheating there, but hey, what are you gonna do? And What a Country had these 5-cell mag pouches with 5 miscellaneous GI magazines. You will read around online that these guns usually fare a little bit better with GI magazines, but there's a catch to that. Essentially, the GI magazines have a smaller hole and the hole is also lower, so it ends up stopping about here, whereas you can see this is a larger hole, slightly elevated. So you'll notice that that is a nice little horrendously done oblong shape there that's kind of ovaled out, and that was done by yours truly with a rat tail file. And the bummer is you can't really use a Dremel tool in order to do that. You basically have to open it up a little bit, open it up, test fitment. Open it up a little bit, open it up, test fitment, and then all of a sudden it just clicks into place and you're good to go. And that is when you got to stop. So each magazine is a little bit different. And yes, these are very collectible 100-plus-year-old magazines on some of them. So you be the judge whether or not you want to modify the magazine catch or you want to modify the magazines. In my case, the magazines were about 35 bucks a piece, and I knew that these were probably going to work and are still being made, so I didn't really want to modify the magazine release or catch. I figured, you know what, I'll modify 5 of the mags. If only one of them works, it'll still look a lot cooler in the gun than the factory magazines did. I was very pleasantly surprised that all but one of the magazines functioned flawlessly. This magazine that is marked SWCO there on the front of the mag, and that's the only marking that I was able to find, did not function. The only malfunctions I had out of 300 rounds were in this magazine. They were all failures to feed. So I obviously assumed that it was this magazine, which I, of course, fitted, and it was a little bit more of a looser fit in the gun. I set that magazine aside, only used the other magazines that I had, and I did not have any other issues aside of the last round out of this magazine just was an empty casing just chilling, like not attached to anything, just chilling inside the ejection port, and I had to tip the gun over and it flopped out. So I am actually not entirely sure if this, which is your ejector here, is supposed to be, I don't know if you guys can tell, probably won't be able to, but you see how it's flared out a little bit? I tried hammering that back in at the range and nothing happened. So I don't know if it's supposed to be bowed out like that a little bit, but it's definitely not flush. It's still sticking out, no problem in there, but it's not flush. Let me know down in the comments, is that supposed to be flush? Or is that sticking out a little bit and working its way out? I watched it the whole range day. I noticed that around round count 50, and I just didn't notice it move at all. So I don't know if it's peened into place like that, it's just supposed to be like that or not. But also one other time where I was trying to go really fast. If you're not familiar with these, the trigger is very bizarre. It feels like you're firing an open bolt gun, but it's very much a closed bolt gun, and that's because it has this striker mechanism that sends the firing pin forward. And there was one time where I'm trying to go fast and like riding it a little bit, and I got it to bump fire, and it just kind of like burped out 1 or 2 in a bump fire, and that was a little weird. But again, I could not get the problem to replicate. So I think that was just me. All of which, regardless, was so much better than what I had assumed I was going to have with this gun. And if you're not familiar with the M1 SBR, there is all of one larger channel that talks about this gun in a feature-length loadout since its inception in like early 2000s. There is just not really any footage that I can find out there about this gun. Likewise, there's not a whole ton of a lot of people talking about what they did necessarily to fix the gun if it was having issues, and I'm really hoping that this series I'm going to do on this gun will be kind of a nice breath of fresh air to anybody that's interested in this gun, coming from a totally unbiased place. As far as the presentation of the gun, machining, and all of those things, I'm not gonna lie, I was fairly disappointed. As you can hear, probably, the handguard is very loose. That can be, of course, tightened. I just almost did it all by my fingernail there, but it comes loose pretty frequently. This was a common issue with a lot of different M1 Thompsons, and they actually ultimately ended up going to a barrel band later down the road. So that, you know, it is what it is, but I was a little disappointed with that. I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but there's a very distinct rough machine line where it looks like the lathe had a bad cut right there, and it just was very rough on this ramp up on the tapered barrel, and it's all the way around. I don't really care, but it is noticeable, like it's there. The edges, man, Jesus, talk about not deburred on the rear here. I took this apart, gave it a full field strip and cleaning prior to the range. It's easy to disassemble, but I got it off, and it is so sharp back here. I actually slit my hand open pretty good on that metal. Got some liquid skin on there now, but it is very sharp on all these edges. The wood furniture, I was unbelievably surprised. They definitely go above and beyond on the presentation of the box. And the wood furniture, I'm like over here searching all this surplus wood furniture that I could maybe put on this to make it look the part more. And when I broke this out of the box, I was very, very surprised at how high quality the wood furniture looked. I mean, you could probably use some boiled linseed oil and get this absolutely glorious looking. But I mean, if you look at the marbling on that walnut stock, that really impressed me. That actually, it was reasonable. But as far as the metal components of the gun, it just all looked very rushed. There was some machine marks in places and other things. I'm really nitpicking that only for the reason that this gun retails around $2,200. I mean, if you're paying that much, you really want to have about as good of fit and finish as you could ever possibly have on a gun. And this definitely is lacking in some areas. I went with a newly manufactured sling. This sling in particular, I got off Sarco. Great dudes at Sarco. And if you can tell here, they actually went as far as aging the buckles, and it looks exactly to the part of the original sling, which is excellent. And I also got this from Sarco, this incredible Thompson bag. It's like a cover for it, original, and it was kept very good. A little bit musty, but not bad. And of course, I used that for some photos and other things, and it really completed the package. Had to hip fire it a few different times because, you know, Saving Private Ryan and all that. And I gotta say, it hip fired unbelievably well. So I could see why, if it was common back in the day to do that, it was done pretty frequently. Depending on your length of pull, the gun has a very interesting feel. Now, for a lot of folks I handed it to, it was very, very awkward. They made comments about how awkward it was. I know that's very common with these. For me, it actually was not that awkward, and any standard full transferable option that I've fired has been very comfortable. And it was a very accurate gun at the range. So I was having a blast with this thing, which again, far and above what I assumed I was going to have with this gun. When it comes to Auto-Ordnance, one could say they have a cult following. Haha. Badum-tsh. Aside of the cult following thing, I'm really disappointed. I actually called them, not as a YouTuber, just as like a guy working in the industry, and I'm like, dude, you know, I'm really thinking about buying one of these. Can I special order one from you? Like, saying that I was paying full retail from them, and the dude was a total jerk to me on the phone, and I've seen that kind of said over and over again, and it seems to be a company that doesn't really give a shit about anything regarding their products or their customer service. But again, I'm very happy that the gun works, and I actually don't feel like I necessarily overpaid. But again, I'm paying closer to dealer cost, so for me, it was a lot more reasonable. I still might throw in the easy pull kit just to see. I am worried though, if it is running reliably and I throw in the easy pull kit, if it starts not running reliably. But my plan with this series is to update you guys along the way and check in and see how it is doing. There's been a lot of complaints online that these rear sight leaves that are held in just by these flatheads run loose, and for me it actually stayed very tight for the most part. Might be a little bit of wobble there that I can tighten up. And the more I shot it, the more that it ran reliably, the more that I'm like, all right, damn it, it's winning me over. It's winning me over. I'm really, really enjoying this gun right now. And I think, if I'm being completely honest, it is a 100% crapshoot. If you buy one of these, I would buy it going into it being 100% ready to expect it not to work. And if you get it to work, it's a huge plus, but I think you're buying it more as a cool World War II era looking wall hanger. And if it works, you're going to be having a freaking blast with it. And that's where I would leave it. I got really, really lucky. I obviously have zero affiliations with the company whatsoever, and I am amazed that it works reliably. But in my case, it does. And I would buy one over again because it just, man, it's a good looking gun. I mean, it is offensively good looking. It just, there's something about it, but the Thompson just has that look. Of course, you do have all your standard controls over here. The fire and the safe is going to operate just fine. I was really not using this as frequently as I probably should have. As you can imagine, not the most comfortable safety. The magazine release is a little bit tough. You do have to hold that back to insert the magazine up. It doesn't just slip past it. And I found that most of the GI mags that I fitted were fitted to the point that I had to give them a little love tap to get them to lock into the magazine well. And after that, they all functioned just fine. I don't know. You guys be the judge. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay tuned for more great content coming soon.